Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. Today we are going to deal with CLT as our new approach, so let us have a start. First of all, and as we used to know the acronyms of the approach or method we explain, so CLT stands for Communicative Language Teaching, okay? Before explaining what CLT means, let us know how this approach came into existence. So, some of the educators and scholars observed that students could produce sentences accurately and use English accurately and perfectly in classroom, although they could not use them appropriately when they are genuinely communicating outside of the classroom. And also, the others noted that being able to communicate requires more than mastering linguistic structures. So, due to the fact that language was fundamentally social, a social context, which it means that language users need to perform certain functions such as promising, inviting, and declining invitations, and so on. So they are came with this approach based upon what about the communicative competence more than the linguistic competence. So, in a short words, CLT or communicative language teaching, meaning knowing when to say what to whom, or let us say in a scientific words that applying the theoretical perspective of the communicative approach or communicative language teaching aims broadly to make communicative competence the goal of language teaching. So what this looks like in the classroom may depend on how the principles are interpreted and applied. So in the in this situation, let us see what the principles of communicative language teaching. So what are the principles of CLT? The first one is whenever possible, authentic language, or what we mean language as it is used in a real context, should be introduced. Then we have being able to figure out the speaker's or writer's intentions is part of being communicatively competent. Also, we have the principles related to target language, which it is the target language is a vehicle for classroom communication, not just the object of the study. The fourth one, that one function can have many different linguistic forms. Since the focus of the course is on real language use, a variety of language forms are presented together. The emphasis is on the process of communication rather than just mastery of language forms. Also, we have students should work with language as a discourse or super-essential above the sentence level, which it means they must learn about cohesion and coherence, those properties of language which bind the sentence together. Okay, the sixth principle, which it is about games, which it is the favorite for the students. So games are important because they have certain features in common with real communicative events. There is a purpose to the exchange. Also, the speaker receives immediate feedback from the listener on whatever or not she has or he has successfully communicated. Having students work in small groups maximize the amount of communicative practice they receive. Then we have students should be given an opportunity to express their ideas and opinion into brackets in their way and in their pronunciation and in their style. Don't just stick with their attitudes. Please let them express themselves as they want with the pronunciation, with the words they use. Okay, don't say you are wrong, you are using this let us say sentence or hi or something like this inappropriately. No, let them just express themselves. They will learn their mistakes later. We will talk about how to deal with errors and mistakes in the part of reviewing the principles. But as a first point, please, please let your student express themselves and their language as they want. Okay, please. Then we have the errors. As we mentioned, we are going to deal with it in this point, so I didn't expect it as soon as this. So errors are correlated and seen as a natural outcome of the development of communication skills. Okay, so errors are correlated. Okay, it is a natural outcome. Don't say to your students or whatever, or your colleagues, or even who is the speaker, don't say this is wrong, you cannot pronounce it like this, you cannot say like this. No, everyone are free to express his language and his idea and his way as he or she want. Okay, so since this activity was working on fluency, the teacher did not correct the student, but simply noted the error, which it means the teacher should take in his mind this point should be worked on more and more, but not selecting the student or the error in bold and say you are wrong, you should not say that, and you should not do that, and so on. Okay, so which he will return to at a later point, which it means he is or she is going to explain it again and again without highlighted or bold the student who did the error, or the sentence contains the error. Okay, so then we have one of the teacher's major responsibilities is to establish situations likely to promote communication. Then so also we have communicative interaction encourages cooperative relationships among students. It gives students an opportunity to work on negotiating meaning. Then we have the social context of the communicative event is essential in giving meaning to the utterances. Well, also we have language forms, which it means learning to use language forms appropriately is an important part of communicative competence. Also, we have the teacher acts as a facilitator in setting up communicative activities and as an advisor during the activities. Also, we have in communicating, a speaker has a choice not only about what to say, but also how to say it. Okay, so the choice is the choice of the speaker, not the listener. You have not the choice to correct the speaker choice. Okay, as a listener, you have to respect the speaker intention and the speaker's way of expressing his or herself, and the choice of his words and the effect of native language pronunciation on his target language pronunciation. Okay, it's a very important point. Also, we have the grammar and vocabulary that the students learn follow from the function and situational context and the roles of the interlocutors. And at last but not least, students should be given opportunities to work on language as it is used in authentic communication, so they may be coached on strategies for how to improve their comprehension. I hope it is clear. Now let us move to the reviewing the principles as questions and answer. So what are the goals of the teacher who use communicative language teaching? The goal is to enable students to communicate in the target language. To do this, students need knowledge of the linguistic form, meanings, and functions. They need to know that many different forms can be used to perform a function, and also that a single form of can often serve a variety of functions, so they must be able to choose from among these the most appropriate form. Given the social context and the roles of the interlocutors, they must also be able to manage the process of negotiating meaning with their interlocutors. So communication is a process. Knowledge of the forms of language is insufficient. Well, what is the role of the teacher, in communicative language teacher? The teacher facilitates communication in the classroom. In this role, one of his major responsibility is to establish situations likely to promote communication. So during the activities, he acts as an advisor, answering students' questions and monitoring their performance. Also, he might make a note of their errors to be worked on at a later time during more accuracy-based activities. At other times, he might be a co-communicator engaging in the communicative activity along with his student or her student. Now let us see what is the role of the students in communicative language teaching. So students are above all communicators, okay? So they are actively engaged in negotiating meaning, in trying to make themselves understood, even when their knowledge of the target language is incomplete, okay? So let them express themselves for more and more and more, please. Let the speaker express him or herself with the language he or she has as it is. Don't correct to them again and again and again. Don't correct for someone to say what he is intended to say, please. Okay, also, since the teacher's role is less dominated than in a teacher-centered method, so students are seen as a more responsible for their own learning. So here is the point. Whenever they make mistakes, it is not your role or responsibility to correct it. The responsibility here is for the student to discover his error or her mistake or his mistakes and work on it, okay? Okay, so now we have the characteristics of communicative language teaching. We have a lot of characteristics here actually. So the whole is more than the sum of its parts. In a brief words, it means the communication is more important than the way they use the language. Okay, so they have different forms, different styles, different expressions to do this communication. So the second one is the process are as important as the forms. Okay, so not only the forms are important, it is important and so on, but the process also important. The process of how to communicate, how to get the aim of this message you receive from the speaker, and so on. Also, we have the information gap. We have information gap in CLT. And also we have the immediate feedback. You know the student level or capacity immediately, and noted this in your notes and whatever list you have to work on later. And also we have learning by doing. Here the learning is by doing, communicating or communication, not only by repeating what the teacher says or what the textbook contained. Also we have mistakes are not always a mistake, so you have to take in consideration that making mistakes is a part of the learning process. It's sometimes used as a vehicle to discover how a language is gone or how language is subtracted. Okay, so it is not your role, or it is not your main role as a teacher to discover students' mistakes and go and say this is error, this is mistakes, you cannot say that, you cannot say no. Please let the student express themselves. Well, now what is the nature of student-teacher interaction? We have the teacher may present some part of the lesson. At other times, he is the facilitator of the activities, but he does not always himself or herself interact with the students. Sometimes he or she is a co-communicator, but more often he or she establishes situations that prompt communication between and among the students. So students interact a great deal with one another. They do this in various configurations, pairs, traits, small groups, and a whole group, sorry, and well, what about the feelings of the students in CLT? One of the basic assumptions of CLT is that by learning to communicate, students will be more motivated to study another language, since they will feel they are learning to do something useful. Also, teachers give students an opportunity to express their individuality, okay, by having them share their ideas and opinions on a regular basis. Finally, student security is enhanced by many opportunities for cooperative interactions with their fellow students and the teachers. As you have heard, we have individualities. Okay, so every student have his or her own personality and her style. Okay, don't try to make them just like you. So, how is the culture viewed and how is language viewed? Language is for communication, while culture is the everyday lifestyle of the people who use the language. This is as simple. Okay. And what areas of language are emphasized in communicative language teaching? We have language function might be emphasized over forms, and we have um, the four skills form should be worked from the beginning, as the skills are emphasized in CLT. Now let us know all of the student's native language. So student native language is permitted in communicative language teaching. However, whenever possible, the target language should be used not only during communicative activities, but also for explaining the activities to the student or in assigning homework. The student learn from these classroom management exchanges too, and realize that the target language is a vehicle for communication, not just an object to be studied. How is evaluation accomplished? A teacher evaluates not only his students' accuracy but also their fluency. The student who has the most control of the structures and vocabulary is not always the best communicator, okay? A teacher can evaluate his students' performance informally in his role as advisor or co-communicator. For more formal evaluation, a teacher is likely to use an integrative test, which has a real communicative function in order to assess students' writing skills. For instance, a teacher might ask them to write a letter to a friend. Well, how does the teacher respond to the student error? Errors of form are correlated, okay, of forms, which it means the grammatical errors. Don't stick on them, please, as a teacher and as a student. Okay, so errors of form are correlated during fluency-based activities and are seen as a natural outcome of the development of communication skills. Students can have limited linguistic knowledge and still be successful communicators. Okay, if is your level, let us say, A1 or beginner or whatever, you can also communicate, which it is the goal of most of the methods in English language teaching. Okay, so the teacher may note the errors during fluency activities and return to them later with an accuracy-based activity. Reviewing the techniques of communicative language teaching, we have the authentic material. Also, we have scrambled sentences. Also, we have language games and picture strip story and role play. Please, for more information for these techniques, you can check the book of Techniques and the Principles in Language Teaching by Diana Larson Freeman and Marty Anderson. This is the source of these lectures and the whole lectures in my channel, because this is the textbook of teaching English language in Iraqi universities. That's why I don't mention it, because it is on the base for Iraqi students. Now, I would like to thank you for your time and for your listening. Please, if you have any question or comment, leave it in the below. I'm going to check it later. Thank you very much and have a good day.